Welcome to today's episode of What to Say and How to Say It, the podcast to help you fix your marriage. I'm Shai Lewis. I'm here with Nina Roesner. Our mission is to help you, Christian married man or woman, navigate conflict and build connection so you can have a thriving marriage. All right, so today our topic is 3 ways that you can lighten your mental load. All right, so mental load is a topic that we've been seeing in the social media waves and airwaves and just hearing people talk about it, especially women, I would say, specifically married women. And it's become a point of contention, I would say. And I think there's been a lot of good advice, a lot of not so good advice, and we want to engage as well and throw our 2 cents in today. So I am excited to talk to you about this, Nina. Welcome.
Thank you, Shai. I'm stoked about the topic. It makes me about half crazy. And when I was raising kids, we didn't have a word for that,
Yeah.
but I was experiencing it, and there was a lot I didn't know. I'll say that.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. And same. And I would even argue there's still a lot to learn. So
Yeah.
yeah, so let's dive into that. But before we do, I want to direct our listeners to our website, greaterimpactwives.org. We have a free PDF for you called 5 Tools for How to Stop Walking on Eggshells. We also have a free marriage assessment for you to take and kind of assess where things are. And maybe you'll check out some of our other programs and products if you're interested. All right, so let's talk about mental load. So we have this thing where there's a 50-50 mindset when we talk about division of labor in marriage that exists in today's generation. So women are working, women are doing a lot of the things that men are doing. They're holding all of this responsibility outside of the home. And so when they return to the home, they're as exhausted as the men are. And sometimes that comes with an expectation of the need for help from the men that they're basically helping outside of the home. So there's just this thing that's happening where women are saying, well, why is it that I have to carry this load of figuring out when to get the kids to practice and who needs doctor appointments and what time does the baby need to go to bed that doesn't even occur to their husbands. And one of the things that I'm seeing is pretty much outrage happen around it. Some women have gone as far as to say, don't get married because this is what happens when you get married. And I'm just thinking, is that where we are, where people are just choosing not to even get themselves into this situation? What does that do to the family and, our society, and especially if you're a Christian? So what are your thoughts on that?
Oh my word. So I got about a zillion of them. And it's a cultural piece because we've bought the social media and media lie that we can have it all. And it's absolutely a lie. You have to have an army of people to do all the stuff around your home and raise your children if you're going to go after a C-suite job.
Mhm.
And I find it really is interesting and really frustrating that the women that are like, well, we deserve these jobs, they're not going after all the jobs that men hold. They're only going after the high status ones, the C-suite things, right? And it's like, okay, well, what about plumbers? What
Mm.
about sewage workers? You claim there's this inequality, but you only want the really, high end, high paying, high, status. Sorry, not buying it. Let's grow up. And in the data that's in on the pay gap, there's 17 factors. Gender's one of them. So of the 17 reasons men and women make different amounts of money, being a different sex is really just one factor. Women, the reason this conflict internally exists, where we're sitting at home and we're looking at, oh, this needs to be dusted, and oh, the kids need help with their math, and Johnny's got a doctor's appointment, and I've got to take off work to go do that, and we feel pressure around it, is because we're not designed to go into battle every single day. As
Mm-hmm.
women, we're not designed to go do that
Mm-hmm.
at the same time that we're raising kids. And okay, so social pressure is don't get married. Really? That's your solution? How about
Right.
do something different? You know, and I'm not against women working, by the way. I've always worked. Even when I had little kids, I worked. I worked part-time because I wanted to keep my brain engaged. And I had a really lovely work situation. And, you know, I think that it's useful for women to maintain some sort of foot in employment, and use their skills and their gifting. Absolutely. And, you know, if you can, take your kids with you if that's possible in the job that you have, right? There's a lot of things now, especially with work at home, that you can do
Mm-hmm.
that you couldn't do before COVID.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But when it comes down to why this exists in the first place, it's because we're trying to have it all, and it's going against our biology and our nature. We hear differently than men do. We hear the baby cry. Our reticular activating system, it lights up faster than his does over a baby crying. He doesn't even hear it until it's been going for a while. We read nonverbal facial expressions so much faster and deeper and more effectively than men do because we're wired that way. We're women, we're relational, and all of that's there biologically to raise and protect children. So we can take a look at, you know, 7-year-old Johnny and understand that he's about 2 seconds away from hitting his brother in the face with the, you know, Tonka truck. And our husband is great at a lot of things, but he's probably not going to catch that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
we have these capacities for very specific types of things, but we've bought the lie that the world has sold us, which is the only way to feel good about yourself is go make a bunch of money and have a high status job. Go climb the corporate ladder, which ruins us. So,
Yeah.
but we want to point the finger because the culture and the media trains you to point the finger at having children. That's one of the most privileged things in the world that you can do.
Oh, it is.
It's incredible honor. And it's not easy. And not everybody can make this happen. You know, we have people that are in separation situations where they're doing their absolute best. And yeah, it's hard. It is absolutely hard. Most people don't get married thinking they're going to be a single parent. You know, nobody does that. And that's another reason why, you know, it's smart to keep a little bit of yourself going in case your husband loses his ever loving mind and does the wrong thing and abandons his family. That
Mhm.
happens, right?
Right.
So you may be in a position where you need to do that, God forbid. But also, if you're wise in how you execute connectivity in your relationship, you're not going to need all that. And my recommendation to women, and again, it's mine, it's not thus saith the Lord. Um, my recommendation to women is work part-time if you can.
Work part-time. Yeah.
Work part-time, raise your children, have that be your career. Motherhood is an astonishing career. It's the most powerful, privileged position in our society. It's so important. So I'll
And
get off my soapbox now, I guess.
no, it's great. I love it. I love it. And you're right. And it's also like very fleeting. Like your kids are little for only like a little while. Like I feel like, gosh, it's a little unfair that we're adults for most of our lives and kids
Yeah.
only this small window because it goes so fast. But one of the things I wanted to ask is how do we make that connection between the reason why we are outraged and the fact that we're actually not doing what we're designed to do? Because I feel like when I read these comments, it escapes us, or it escapes, these women who are just
Mhm.
angry that
Right.
these men, to your point, have different brains, and it's not occurring to them that the laundry needs to be done or the dishes need to be washed, or, you know, Johnny's sick and needs, to go to the doctor when his temperature gets to 101. These are the
Mhm.
things we carry in our brains, but there's an expectation that exists there that the men will be able to do this. And it's completely going over their heads that they're just not wired to.
Yeah, so a big piece here that we don't pay attention to is that men have a much higher tolerance for risk than women do.
Mm. Hmm.
Okay. So let's apply that concept to literally everything you just said. So with laundry, that means, okay, I'm out of underwear. For a woman, that's a crisis. For a man, it's like, these
Yeah.
don't look too bad and they'll be underpants anyway. I don't
Yeah.
think I can smell anything here. Like that, let they do a risk assessment. I know you're shaking your head. Like, no woman does this.
Yeah.
Like, and there's about 15% of men probably that are like, what are you talking about? My underwear
Yeah.
is always clean and it's folded in right angles. Like, okay, do you? You're not typical there though. Just
Right.
say, and praise God for you because you're wired that way very specifically. It's awesome. But that's not the norm. When it comes to Johnny being sick, well, he ain't that sick. He's not seizing. So higher tolerance for risk means, it's good for him. They look at things totally differently than we do. They
Mhm.
don't have like they may have the intelligence. Absolutely. Matter of fact, that's 100% true. And nobody likes this statistic, but on average, men have higher IQs than women do. And there's nothing wrong with that. It just is. When it comes to relationships and emotional intelligence, I think women can be smarter in that space. But when you look at risk tolerance, the husband's going to be, a man is going to be like, I don't know if it's that big a deal. Where the wife sees the 28 things that could go wrong here, right?
Mhm.
And wants to navigate it. And
Mhm.
it just is. It just is. We took our grandkids to a pumpkin patch today, and it was fun to watch all of that play out and just really enjoy the grandkids, because I wasn't responsible for them. Polly was there, and she's a great mom. I just love watching her with her littles. And my husband and I were there, and there were some animals. And I was a little bit, hold on, let's see if these animals are safe before we go pet them. And he's like, you're such a mom, even though you're not a mom. And I'm like, yeah, I can't help it. Like, I'm not going to let my granddaughter. And I'm not saying he
Yeah.
would have put them at risk. He just made an
Yeah.
observation, right?
Mhm.
So that plays into everything. So that means that women are going to see stuff sooner and
Yeah.
take action sooner on a lot of stuff than men will. Men are not going to be different because we complain about them not being women.
Yeah.
So we need to accept the fact that we're different. Men do not have the same perceptions visually that we do. Like, and if you want to test this, how many times has your husband said, "Where's the ketchup?" And he's standing in front of an open refrigerator. And it's not because he's an idiot. The guy's holding down a great job. He's able to do all these things with your kids and his life and all this stuff. Can't find the ketchup. That doesn't make him stupid. It means that he doesn't have the same intentionality around certain things that you do. You know where the ketchup is right now, and your refrigerator is closed. Mine is too. I can tell you exactly where my ketchup is. And it's always right there, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to move it to put it back there. Because there's a place where it goes.
That's where it goes. That's what I was about to say. That's where it goes. So, okay, so what about the wife that says, but that's just so sexist? I mean,
Yes, it is.
yes,
Yes,
it
it is because we're different. Hello, nobody says, well, how come he can't be pregnant? How come
yeah.
he can't nurse the baby? It's like, grow up. Like, you are a female. It's like a dog complaining, well, how come I'm not a cat? I wanted to climb trees. It's like, you're not capable of that. We need to radically accept the wonder and beauty and the privilege of being a female in this culture right now. It's always been this way, but it is absolutely a stunning thing. I mean, think about it. When life is created, the first relationship the baby has in utero is with mom, the
Hmm.
first relationship. And then for the first 18 months, mom's the only thing that exists to the baby. That other guy, okay, but most of the time I cry when you put me in his arms. I don't know. And then the next step after that is, oh, I associate you with her, so maybe you're okay. Right? If dad talks to baby while in utero, that can be different. A lot of
Mm,
people don't do that.
yeah,
So baby's got capacity for one primary relationship till she's about 18 months old. That's just real. And it's the mom. And we
yeah,
hand that off to other people. It's a shame. We're missing out, and so are they. We mess up their bonding. So,
yeah. So the first way we can tackle this problem I'm hearing is just accept the fact that men and women are wired differently. We have different brains. And if you're Christian, you can attribute it to God's design. And that right there will eliminate a lot of the confusion and outrage that accepting this is God's will for your
yes.
life. um, Okay. One of the things I also saw in the comments section was the question of, well, what do you say when men ask what needs to be done? Like
Mhm,
it seems to be something that happens often. Can you
mhm.
explain what's happening there with the male brain when they're like, well, tell me what to do if
Yeah.
you need help?
Yeah. They want us to ask them to help with something specific because if you're male and you just jump in, which is what women do, right? We just jump in and help. We see, oh, the laundry needs to be done. We'll just fold those clothes and we'll put these things away and we'll empty the dishwasher. We just jump in. If you do that to a dude, he thinks, you think I can't handle this. Men know that about each other. So instead of communicating to his wife, he's actually respecting you when
Mm,
he says,
wow.
what can I do to help? Because he honestly doesn't know. And it's not because he's stupid. He wants to do the thing that matters to you. He doesn't want to communicate, I don't think you can handle this.
Wow.
He's willing to put up with a lot of chaos. Like I fed my husband probably for like 3 weeks after our first baby. I think we had noodles with butter for dinner. Like that was the best I could do. And frozen pizza. Like I did. And I asked him, I said, can you make dinner? Can you just make dinner? He's like, I would love to. And then we started eating really, really well. My husband is an incredible cook, and he took it upon himself to make dinner, and it was incredible. But you have to realize that when a man asks you, what do you need help with? They're respecting you. And
Wow.
women find that annoying because we have this childhood fantasy that if we're loved well enough, somebody's going to be able to read our minds. And that, I'm sorry, that's only God. He's not your God.
Mhm.
So say aloud the thing you need. Can you change the laundry over and then empty the dishwasher? I am not kidding you. Every time I ask my husband to do something specific, he always does it. And he's got a heart that's helpful. He wants to serve his family, and but he's not going to usurp my position or communicate that he doesn't think I can handle something by just doing stuff. So there's that.
Yeah, there's that. So, okay, what about the perspective of, but he figures it out at work. No one has to tell him, set this meeting. No one has to tell him if he's a plumber, fix the toilet or manage this team or set this agenda. He figures that out on his own. Why can't he figure it out at home?
Because home is yours. Home is our turf. Home is our domain. We are the keeper of the home. And so he's not going to just suddenly decide, okay, we're going to rearrange the furniture in the living room today. Like no male does that. Women are the ones that move the furniture around because we
Mm,
understand the patterns in the carpet and we think about those things. Men don't care most of the time. They just don't. So he's going to do that in his shop. Like if he has a
mhm,
space that he has a workshop or something like that, or an office, he'll take dominion over his little space. Absolutely. He's not going to do that in the home. He does it at work because he's responsible for it. He does it within the parameters that the company has given him. Here's your job, your role, go. Right? And so
mhm.
he does whatever's within that. Under if he owns his own company, He's doing all of that, absolutely. But when at home, that's our dominion. Raising
Mm,
kids, that's our dominion. And yeah, sometimes there's differences of opinion for sure. And then that's a necessary conflict because if your kids are only mothered, they grow up bubbled unless the mom has an awareness that she needs to spend a lot of time letting them take risks because she's not wired to do that and it's going to be awful, but let's do it anyway. But because men are necessary for raising children, it's
mm,
hard. They need to spend time around their dads. It's really, I mean, all the data's in around that. It's really hard for them to grow up without that. So.
yeah. Do you think it's fair to kind of look at this as if we were in their domain? Like, for instance, if the car needed repair or the house needed repair,
Mhm.
and we would typically, I mean, there are some women that are Mrs. Fix-Its for sure, but I know for me, that would be a place where I wouldn't know necessarily what to do first. Just,
Yeah,
you know what I
exactly.
mean? Is that
Yeah,
like
I do.
a way to maybe help women see this in a way that helps them? Like, if you go into your husband's role and his dominion or his job or his workplace and he doesn't tell you what to do and you're just kind of there to help him, aren't you going to feel the same way he does?
Yeah, exactly.
You
Good
know what I
analogy.
mean?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think that's a really fair way of looking at it. Um, People have like I don't do the financial end of our relationship. I'm not the one that's good at math. I've married
Right.
an engineer. He's a genius. And so that's his department, right? I don't worry about it because I
Mhm.
trust him. And I know that the person that's the most skilled is doing those things. If he needs help from me, with something, which would be something simple, like filing or sorting or, printing things or whatever, I'm happy to do that. But I need to be directed with what needs to occur there because I have
Right.
no clue. Like if you were to
Right.
hand me taxes, I'd be like, oh, I wouldn't even know where to start, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and men can be like that in a lot of different spaces. And women need to be patient with that. And they want to help. The best advice I got from anybody was Jim's mom. Right when my baby was 5 months old, I was going back to work at Dale Carnegie. I was going to go teach a class, and she called me and she goes, "You're going back to work." I said, "Yep." She goes, "I have a piece of advice for you. I hope you'll take it." I'm like, "Okay." She goes, "If your child is alive when you get home, that's good enough." I'm like, "What?" She goes, "If your kid is alive," she goes, "if you don't receive whatever he does tonight, he'll never do it again. He's going to be nervous. He wants to do a good job, and he's not going to. There's going to be something, and it's not the way you've done it. But if you are discouraging, he won't do it again, and you'll have teenage kids that don't know their dad." And of course, something happened, and and I bit my tongue, and I came back, and we had a conversation, and I asked him, how it went, and he said, "Oh yeah, I meant to, you know." feed him the breast milk that you pumped and I just didn't schedule how dinner went, but I think I've got it figured out for next time. I'm really sorry. I know you worked really hard on this. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And I didn't have to say anything and I didn't have to be mad about it, right? Like God managed to sort that without my help somehow. Imagine that. So that was sarcasm. Um, but she was right. And as a result, I applied that all the time, and I worked part-time with little kids, and Jim would come home and be with them while I'd go off to work. Sometimes I'd get a sit or two. That's real because he had to travel sometimes. But you've got to create those things and then let them be who they are in that space and stop trying to make them women. That doesn't work and it's not good for your family.
Amen. So the second thing I heard is share exactly what you need from your spouse. Be specific if you need to, and recognize that this is actually them being respectful toward you when they ask you what you need help with, which
Mhm.
is amazing. Okay, so the last thing I want to mention is sometimes they do figure it out on their own, and that could be an opportunity to affirm them and really
Mhm.
just kind of like give that praise, um, where that alone will just communicate, give
Mhm.
me more and
Yeah.
encourage them. So could you maybe speak to that a little bit?
Well, I think we need to use the relational gifting that we have to really build each other up. We're called to do that in the Bible, to encourage one another daily.
Mhm.
And we can do that by affirming the strengths that we see. And nobody talks to these men at work unless they need something or there's a problem. So for us to bring a compliment to them, hey, I really appreciate you being so consistent with, helping Sarah with her homework every day. Like that's incredible. Thank you so much. Just something small like that, acknowledging his contribution. They're not hearing that from anybody else. And what that does is, and this is not the reason to do it, but I'll tell you the outcome. It elevates you and it puts you close to his heart as his encourager. And that's your seat and you want to sit in it. But you do that through your words. You create the relationship through your words and through your actions and the way you respect and honor him. And he's going to be different. So can you accept that? And can you thrive in it? Like it's art that women have in this space. This feminine energy that we have is absolutely beautiful to partner with God to create joy and depth, connection relationally. It's really art. And it's art worth doing. And we are, as women, equipped to do that because we perceive faster than they do, deeper than they do, more accurately than they do. And so we need to use that gifting for God's glory.
Amen. Once again, we come back to the design of male versus female. So ultimately, this is about glorifying God in the way that He has created you to exist and show up in the best way to encourage your husband and edify your marriage. So we hope this was helpful for you today. What will you do with the information you have? Again, please check out our website. We have tons of info. And we also have a free e-course for you on Facebook if you're interested in joining a community where we talk more about this stuff. And more coaching products, like I said, on our website. So check us out when you have time and also check out the next episode. We think you'll like it. It's going to be a good one. All right, we'll see you next time.